There are moments when a woman looks directly at you, smiles, says everything is fine, and somehow you leave that conversation feeling like you missed something important. Not because she lied, because you sensed a feeling she never put into words. Most men spend years trying to decode moments like that. They search for rules, tricks, secret phrases. But the strange part is, the more they chase certainty, the less they understand what was really happening. If these conversations have ever left you lying awake later that night, replaying every sentence, wondering why her mood shifted so quickly, you're not strange. You're noticing something that many people quietly struggle to explain. And before we go any further, if these conversations about relationships and female psychology help you understand yourself a little more deeply, consider subscribing. Not because you need more advice, but because sometimes hearing what you've always felt, finally put into words, changes everything. Because what most people call female nature isn't really about mystery, it's about emotion, and emotions rarely move in straight lines. Picture this. You're sitting across from her in a quiet cafe. Nothing dramatic happens. She laughs, she asks about your day, she reaches for her coffee. Everything looks normal. But then you mention another woman. Not someone you're interested in, just a co-worker. For half a second, something changes. Her smile stays, her eyes don't. It's tiny, almost invisible. Then it's gone. Many men notice moments like this but immediately dismiss them. I'm imagining it. No, it's probably nothing. Sometimes it really is nothing. Sometimes she's simply distracted. But sometimes, that tiny shift isn't about jealousy at all. It's about emotional significance. People naturally react when someone they care about suddenly feels a little less emotionally available. That isn't exclusive to women. Men do it too. Only the expression often looks different. And that's where many misunderstandings begin. Because people don't always reveal feelings the moment they experience them. Often, they test the emotional safety of the moment first. Can I say what I'm feeling? Will I look needy? Will I regret saying this? Or should I pretend everything's fine? Those questions happen quietly. Sometimes so quietly that the person asking them barely notices. There's something else almost nobody talks about. Many men believe attraction is created by saying the perfect thing, the perfect compliment, the perfect text, the perfect timing. Yet some of the strongest emotional connections begin during moments that would look completely ordinary to someone watching from across the room. A pause, a shared silence, an accidental smile. The way someone remembers one small detail weeks later, not because the detail itself mattered, because remembering made them feel seen. Everyone wants to feel understood before they want to feel impressed. That sounds simple, but think about how rarely it actually happens. Most conversations become performances. People wait for their turn to speak. They prepare clever answers. They protect themselves. Very few simply notice. And when someone does, it can feel unexpectedly intimate. Not romantic, not yet, just safe. That feeling is more powerful than many people realize. But safety has a strange relationship with attraction. Sometimes it strengthens it. Sometimes it slowly replaces excitement. And understanding why that happens changes the entire way you see relationships. Because the women who leave the deepest impression on a man's life often aren't the ones who confused him the most. They're the ones who quietly revealed something about his own emotional world before he even realized it was there. And once you notice that pattern, it's almost impossible to unsee. There's a moment that almost never gets talked about. It doesn't happen during the first conversation, not even the first date. It usually happens later, when the excitement settles down, the messages become normal, and both of you stop trying quite so hard. That's when something subtle begins. She starts paying less attention to what you say, and more attention to how you make her feel. Most men never notice the shift, because they're still focused on words. She's quietly watching patterns. Imagine it's been a long day. You finally text her. She replies. The conversation is easy, comfortable. Then, without warning, she disappears for 3 hours. No explanation, no apology. Your mind starts moving before your fingers do. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? Should I text again? You tell yourself not to overthink, but you already are. What's interesting isn't that you're anxious. Almost everyone experiences moments like this in relationships. What's interesting is what happens next. Some men immediately send another message. Some decide to ignore her the next day. Some pretend they don't care. And a few, they notice the feeling inside themselves before they react. That small pause changes everything. Because emotions often become louder when they're not understood. Not because they're stronger, because they're waiting to be acknowledged. Now let's look at the other side. She eventually replies, "Sorry, today was crazy." Maybe that's true. Maybe it is. Life gets busy. People have responsibilities. But your brain doesn't immediately relax. Why? Because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Human beings naturally try to fill empty spaces with stories. When information is missing, the imagination gets to work. Sometimes it protects us. Sometimes it quietly creates problems that never existed. Many women experience this too. Someone takes longer than usual to answer. Their tone changes slightly. A plan gets cancelled. Suddenly, the mind starts writing an entire story using only 2 or 3 facts. It's rarely about the message itself. It's about what the silence seems to mean. Silence has a strange way of borrowing our deepest fears. There's another misunderstanding that quietly damages connections. Many men believe confidence means never showing uncertainty, never admitting nervousness, never revealing disappointment, always appearing unaffected. But think about the people you've trusted most in your own life. Were they perfect? Probably not. They were consistent. There's a difference. Confidence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply emotional steadiness, the ability to stay yourself, even when you don't know exactly where you stand. Ironically, that calm often feels more attractive than trying to appear impressive, because calm suggests something deeper. It quietly says, "My self-worth doesn't disappear because one conversation felt different." That's difficult, much more difficult than pretending not to care. Now imagine another scene. You're walking together after dinner. The conversation slows. Neither of you speaks for almost a minute. Years ago, that silence would have terrified you. You would have rushed to fill it, made a joke, asked another question, anything to keep things moving. But now, you simply keep walking. She looks over, smiles. Not because you entertained her, because you looked comfortable being yourself. People notice that more than they admit. Emotional pressure is surprisingly easy to feel. So is emotional peace. Neither one needs words. This doesn't mean every quiet moment creates attraction. Sometimes silence is simply silence. Sometimes people lose interest. Sometimes timing isn't right. Relationships are complicated. No single behavior guarantees anything, but in many cases, people move closer to those who make them feel emotionally lighter instead of emotionally responsible. That's an important distinction. No one wants to feel like they're carrying another person's happiness every time they pick up their phone. And yet, many connections slowly drift into exactly that, without either person realizing it. But that still isn't the deepest misunderstanding, because underneath all these conversations, underneath delayed texts, mixed signals, awkward pauses, there's one hidden emotional question that often shapes everything a woman does without her ever saying it out loud. And once you recognize that question, her behavior begins to make sense in a completely different way. There's a quiet question that often lives beneath everything else. You won't hear it spoken. It rarely appears in a text. No one sits across the table and says it directly. But if you've ever wondered why someone who seemed deeply interested suddenly became distant, or why another woman slowly grew closer without anything dramatic happening, this question is often somewhere in the background. Can I relax around you and still feel emotionally alive? Not, are you perfect? Not, will you always say the right thing? Just, can I be myself here? That sounds simple. It isn't, because many people spend years trying to become attractive, while quietly forgetting how exhausting it feels to constantly perform. Think about the beginning of almost every connection. Both people are a little nervous. Both are trying to leave a good impression. You choose your words more carefully. She does too. You laugh a little louder than you normally would. She smiles a little longer than she actually feels. None of that is fake. It's human. When we care about someone's opinion, we naturally become more aware of ourselves. But eventually, something has to change. The performance gets heavy. Someone has to breathe first. And often, the person who creates emotional safety isn't the one with the best jokes, or the nicest clothes, or the most impressive career. It's the one who quietly gives the other person permission to stop pretending. Maybe you've experienced this without realizing it. You're talking late at night. The conversation drifts away from work, away from hobbies, away from the usual questions. Then she tells you something small, not dramatic. Maybe she admits she's been doubting herself lately, or that she still feels guilty about something that happened years ago. She watches your face after saying it, just for a second. She's not only sharing a story, she's watching what happens to the space between you. Do you rush to fix her? Do you judge her? Do you suddenly become uncomfortable? Or do you simply stay present? That response matters more than many men realize, because people remember how safe they felt revealing the parts of themselves they usually hide. Not every woman opens up this way. Not every relationship reaches that point. But when it does, it's rarely accidental. There's another idea that surprises people. Sometimes what pushes someone away isn't rejection, it's pressure. Pressure to respond perfectly. Pressure to reassure constantly. Pressure to never have an off day. Imagine carrying that feeling every time your phone lights up. Eventually, even a healthy relationship can begin to feel like another responsibility. This doesn't mean affection disappears. It means emotional breathing room becomes important. Healthy closeness isn't about being together every second. It's knowing that distance doesn't automatically mean danger. That's a difficult lesson, especially if you've been hurt before, because old disappointments have a way of whispering into new relationships. A delayed reply suddenly feels familiar. A cancelled plan reminds you of someone else. Without noticing, you're reacting to yesterday while standing in today. Many people do this, women included. It's one of the quieter ways the past follows us forward. And then there's confidence. Not the kind people post online, not the loud version, the quieter kind. The kind that doesn't need to win every disagreement, doesn't panic over every misunderstanding, doesn't chase every bit of reassurance. That kind of confidence feels different. It's peaceful. And peace is surprisingly attractive, because it allows another person to lower their guard too. But here's where everything becomes more complicated. Sometimes a woman pulls away. Not because you've done something wrong, but because she's trying to understand her own feelings. People often assume distance always means a lack of interest. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes someone needs space simply because closeness has started to feel real, and real feelings can be frightening, especially if they've been disappointed before. That's why quick conclusions are so dangerous. Human behavior rarely has one simple explanation. Still, there is one pattern that appears again and again. It's so subtle that most men completely miss it. Yet once you notice it, you'll begin to understand why some relationships slowly deepen, while others quietly fade, even when both people genuinely cared. Have you ever noticed how some people leave a conversation and somehow stay in your mind for the rest of the day? Not because they were the funniest, not because they were the most attractive, not because they said anything unforgettable. It's stranger than that. You simply felt different around them, lighter, more like yourself. And hours later, while you're making dinner or driving home or staring at the ceiling before sleep, they're still there. Not as a memory, as a feeling. That's the kind of connection most people spend years trying to create without realizing what they're actually chasing. Imagine the two of you are walking through a grocery store. Nothing romantic is happening. You're arguing over which snacks taste better. She laughs because you insist your choice is obviously superior. You tease her. She rolls her eyes. Then, for just a second, the conversation stops. You catch her looking at you. Not with excitement, not with surprise, just warmth. It disappears almost immediately. She reaches for another item and keeps walking. If someone watched from the next aisle, they'd see nothing special. But sometimes, those ordinary moments become the foundation of extraordinary relationships. Because emotional attachment often grows quietly. Not during fireworks, during familiarity. During small moments that say, life feels easier when you're here. People rarely announce when they begin feeling that way. Many don't even realize it's happening. There's something else that's easy to misunderstand. A woman may challenge you, disagree with you, question your opinion. Some men instantly assume she's losing respect. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it isn't. In many healthy relationships, disagreement isn't a sign of emotional distance. It's a sign that someone feels safe enough to be honest. Think about that. If every conversation is perfectly smooth, if nobody ever pushes back, if every opinion is immediately accepted, are you seeing the real person? Or just the version that's trying to avoid conflict? Real closeness usually includes small moments of friction, not constant fighting, just enough honesty for both people to exist without pretending. The goal isn't agreement, it's respect while disagreeing. That difference changes everything. Then there are the moments that confuse almost every man. One week she seems incredibly engaged. The next, she's quieter, less expressive, more focused on herself. Your instinct may be to search for one big reason, but emotions rarely work like that. People carry stress from work, family, old memories, personal goals. Sometimes they don't even have the words to explain why they feel different, so they withdraw a little. Not to punish anyone, simply because they're trying to hear themselves think. This doesn't automatically mean you should chase. It doesn't automatically mean you should walk away either. Often, the healthiest response is curiosity instead of panic. A calm, "Is everything okay?" can open a door that assumptions never will. One of the deepest mistakes people make in relationships is believing they're responsible for fixing another person's emotions. You're not. Support matters, kindness matters, listening matters. But every adult carries an emotional world that ultimately belongs to them. When someone feels they must constantly rescue the other person, love slowly becomes obligation, and obligation rarely feels romantic for very long. Healthy relationships aren't built by two people saving each other every day. They're built by two people walking beside each other, especially on the difficult days. There's a quiet strength in that, one that doesn't demand attention. And then, there's the fear almost no one admits. Not the fear of rejection, that one gets talked about all the time. The deeper fear is this: what if she sees the real me and decides I'm not enough? That fear changes voices. It changes posture. It changes decisions. Sometimes it makes a man become overly agreeable. Sometimes it makes him emotionally unavailable. Sometimes it makes him leave before anyone else has the chance. Not because he doesn't care, because caring suddenly feels dangerous. And if you've ever done that, you're far from alone. The surprising part is, many women quietly wrestle with the very same fear. They simply protect themselves in different ways. And when two people, each carrying invisible fears, begin trying to love one another, something incredibly delicate starts to unfold. Understanding that delicate balance may be the most important realization of all. There comes a point in almost every meaningful connection when neither person is wondering, do they like me? The question becomes much quieter, much harder to answer. Can we keep choosing each other after the excitement changes? Because excitement always changes. It has to. No emotion stays at its highest point forever. That isn't failure, it's life. The couples who seem deeply connected from the outside aren't usually living in a constant state of romance. They're living through ordinary Tuesdays, missed calls, long work days, small misunderstandings, shared routines. And somehow, they still find little ways to remind each other, I'm glad you're here. Those moments rarely make headlines, but they shape relationships more than grand gestures ever could. Maybe that's the biggest misunderstanding behind the phrase female nature. It makes it sound as though women are one mystery waiting to be solved. Real people don't work that way. Every woman carries her own history, her own fears, her own dreams, her own way of expressing love or protecting herself from it. Some are naturally expressive, others are reserved. Some need more reassurance. Others value independence above almost everything. Trying to fit every woman into one explanation doesn't bring clarity. It only hides the person standing in front of you. The most emotionally mature men eventually stop asking, "How do women think?" They begin asking, "Who is this woman? And what matters to her?" That small shift changes the entire conversation, because curiosity creates connection. Assumptions usually create distance. There is another truth that isn't easy to accept. Sometimes you'll do almost everything right, and the relationship still won't become what you hoped. Not because you weren't enough, not because she was wrong for you. Sometimes two good people meet at different stages of life. One is ready, the other is healing. One wants stability, the other is still searching for themselves. That can be heartbreaking. But heartbreak doesn't always mean someone failed. Sometimes it simply means timing couldn't carry what feelings alone wanted to build. Accepting that takes courage. It also protects you from spending years blaming yourself for an ending that had many causes. As you get older, something interesting often happens. You become less impressed by intensity and more drawn to consistency. A person who remembers the little things, who speaks honestly, who apologizes when they're wrong, who doesn't disappear every time life becomes uncomfortable. Those qualities may not create the fastest attraction, but they often create the strongest trust. And trust has a quiet beauty. It grows slowly, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize this person has become your place of peace. Not because life became easy, because you no longer feel like you're facing it alone. If you've watched this far, maybe you've realized something. This conversation was never really about understanding women. It was also about understanding yourself. About recognizing the stories fear tells you, the walls you've built after disappointment, the moments you confused silence with rejection, or attention with love. The healthier you become emotionally, the less you'll chase certainty. You'll become more comfortable with honesty, with patience, with asking instead of assuming, with listening instead of proving. Ironically, that's often when relationships begin to feel less complicated. Not because people change overnight, because you do. So the next time you're sitting across from a woman, don't rush to decode every glance. Don't search every pause for hidden meaning. Don't assume every quiet moment is a warning. Pay attention instead to something much simpler. How do the two of you feel when you're together? Can you both laugh without pretending? Can you disagree without fear? Can you be silent without panic? Can you leave the conversation feeling a little more like yourself than before? Because in many cases, that's where real connection begins. Not in mastering female psychology, but in becoming the kind of man whose presence feels honest, calm, and emotionally safe. And those qualities, they never go out of style.